let's get some cartoons and vodka and do them all night long. Are you ready for some fun? Drink 'em down, drink 'em down, drink 'em down, drink 'em down.
So the obvious joke to start this episode with, since I'm reviewing Yakuza Lovers, which is basically porn for us womens, would have been to, start with a glass of wine and some romantic music, because that's apparently how women masturbate. I thought it involved hypno-porn and poppers, but what do I know? The point is that it's supposed to be a calming ritual to have some nice wine before you really get yourself in the mood. But I think wine is gross. Hence the chocolate milk, because it's delicious and it calms me. So let's talk about Yakuza Lovers. This is a spicy one. So this one starts out with Yuri and her friend who doesn't matter going to some high-class party. Yuri is looking for a boyfriend, but she's being very weird about it, telling all the boys who hit on her to piss off. I guess they're just not her type. Anyway, they get lost because it's a big fancy shindig at a big fucking hotel, and they wander into the drug room, where people are doing drugs. Now, doing drugs is a big no-no in Japan. Huge no-no, big red flag. So all the drug doers grab Yuri and her friend and drag them in to force them to take drugs so that they'll be implicated and not go to the cops, is the plan. I'm not sure how that works. Yuri is having none of it and proceeds to grab a stool and just slam it down on a guy's head, saying that she is really good at dunking basketballs and she is ready to dunk this stool on anyone's head who approaches her. Now, I already love this girl. She's bloody fantastic, but she is a little bit in over her head, and thankfully the Yakuza bust in and are like, who the hell is doing illegal drugs? We are the Yakuza and are not into such things. Get them out of our party. See what I mean about drugs being a big no-no in Japan? Even the Yakuza are shown to not do them in fiction. And of course, the guy who busts in and rescues Yuri is a really hot bishi. I don't usually go in for the hot bishi guy look. I find them to be a little angular, but something about Oya's glasses, and you know what it is. It's that he smiles a lot. I can tell that this was drawn by a woman because the bad boy with the heart of gold has a lot more heart of gold than usual in this one. Like, yes, Oya is a Yakuza. He gets shot at. He is a murderer. He does crimes, okay? That's established. We know this. But he is not an aggressively possessive alpha douche to Yuri. He rescues her, gives her his coat and his business card, which he says will get her out of any jams, and sends her on her way. And like a week later we catch up with her and she's still thinking about this guy who saved her and was so fucking hot. And her friend is like, why are you still hung up on that guy? He was so dangerous, his business card was a weapon. No! That's the last we see of that wet blanket. So Yuri looks up the syndicate's offices, which is a thing they have. The Yakuza just have offices that you can look up and go to. And she bumps into Oya, and he's like, he gives this amazing smile, and he's like, oh my god, she came back. I didn't think she'd come back. And he's so happy to see her, and they start kind of like touching and kissing, and like, she wets her panties with arousal. Like, okay, yeah, she's a little embarrassed by this, but it is so rare to see women being allowed to get aroused in a visceral way like that in fiction. Now, it doesn't last long because he immediately gets shot at by a sniper trying to assassinate him, and he sends her away for her own safety. And that, kind of puts a kibosh on the moment. What Yuri ends up doing is she goes away and has a think about how dangerous this man's life must be, and if it's worth hanging out and like trying to have a relationship with him, no matter how much she's physically attracted to him, he's a bad guy. Not safe to be around. But it literally takes one phone call from Oya saying he wants to see her for Yuri's resolve to not get back in with the Yakuza to just immediately crumble because he is so hot. He is really getting her motor running. And they kind of just fuck. Like, they just do that. And what's wild about this is a shoujo beat manga, okay? This is the kind of smutty stuff I would expect from Midnight Secretary, okay? Which is a josei. This is not a josei. Or at least it's not marketed in the same magazines as romance stories for women. This is marketed to a younger demographic, and it is really, really sexual in a really fun way. And what's wild is that once they're together, that's basically it. There's not really any conflict after that point, at least not in this volume. They just have really hot sex, and it's really hot sex. His tattoos are so gorgeous. The lines of his neck that she gives him are just astonishing. Like, the positions that this author puts them into are fantastic. This is delightful smut. It's not porn. There's not enough for it to count as porn in my eyes, but oh, it is supposed to get your motor running, and I say it does. And even beyond that, I adore how balanced the relationship is. Yuri is a very headstrong woman, and she's not going to let her boyfriend run all over her, but he also doesn't try to. He doesn't have any of that toxicness where the big alpha dom boyfriend has to be shown that he can't dominate this one specific woman, which of course makes her special. No, he thinks she's wonderful and treats her like a queen, and she lets him. She absolutely lets him spoil the fuck out of her. She will lay on the bed and growl and purr at him and tell him to be nice to her, and he buys her nice things and she's like, yeah! There's just so much in this manga that is fantastically refreshing for the romance genre, and it still hits the sort of emotional rhythms, peaks and valleys of a romance, but it doesn't do the tired cliches, except for a little bit of a tease at the end for a villain in the next volume, who I know is just sort of like, he's crushing on Oya hard and really wants his attention as a fellow criminal, and he decides he's gonna kidnap Yuri to accomplish that. Pretty frickin' trite, that, but I can't hate this. In fact, I love it. I love it. I adore this. It's very hot and sexy. The characters are really fun. Yuri does not lose that spark. When she's about to go on a vacation with her boyfriend to China, and she's like waiting for him at the airport and some guys try to hit on her, we get a return of her preparing to slam people's heads with her luggage this time instead of the stool from the drug den. But yeah, no, she is so ready to fuck people up if they get on her nerves. But Oya does not get on her nerves. At least not those ones. And it's also just delightfully sex positive. Like, it starts out pretty, like, typical framing in terms of the way the sex is shown, with the guy on top and the woman sort of being, like, ensconced in his big manly arms and manly back muscles and manly chest. Even though this guy is very slim bishi, pretty standard design. But then, like, for a later sex scene, she's, like, on top and, like, driving him wild, and his face actually shows it. Like, the author is not afraid to show the big romantic hero of this being completely trounced by the heroine in terms of, like, a romantic encounter. And I'm pretty sure I'm showing it, and I'm pretty sure that clench is her vagina. I love this manga! I wasn't able to actually write a script for this one. I don't know if you could tell. I think I've been speaking pretty fluidly. But No, because it's just such a gush fest for me in this one. Yakuza Lover is fantastic. I cannot wait for the next volume. Go read it!